Hi there and welcome to Bustthenet. Yes, it is transfer time. And I've been asked many times by people to go into a bit more detail about how I do things with Kingstonian. So on today's show, I'm going to focus primarily on that. This is all preseason work, and it actually starts the moment the season ends. The moment the season ends, I start planning for the future. Several things you want to do straight out of the gate. Now, when you are taking over a site for the first time, make sure that if you can't hire scouts, then make sure that your staff, like coaches and all, have scouting nation knowledge level. So what I like to do is I like to set up a filter, scout nation knowledge level, and this is going to be very important because it makes it easier for you to find players. These staff, they have knowledge of the players, and if they have judging PA as well, they can help. So I always look for nation knowledge levels at least 100%. Now I'm going into the championship, and we are tied up with Brexit. This is quite a challenging Brexit because everybody needs a work permit. Now, if they're in the EU, they still need a work permit. So the only players that don't require a work permit are English players and Irish players. So what I typically do is I nation knowledge level 100% England, nation knowledge level or Ireland. So I get both these in, and I start making sure that my staff can find players. This is gonna make it a lot easier for me later to sort out the players. The second thing that I do is naturally I'm faced with a Brexit, a reasonably tough Brexit. This means that I have to make sure that my board continually improve youth facilities, as well as when you go to networking, you want to increase your youth recruitment. You want to make sure that you keep the youth recruitment level up. You want to invest in junior coaching when you get a chance. This will allow you to develop talent from your own club. We are very excited because we have one youngster called Ted Mallet who came through our academy. Now, yeah, it doesn't look like something fantastic, but if you look at the coach report, he's got some ability. Yeah, so we at least got someone, right. It's better than nothing. And I'm going to have to depend a lot on these players. So most of my players are going to be English. The next thing I like to do is I like to make sure that my reports have the necessary information I need for me to go make decisions. There are certain salient things that I need. I need to have average rating. I need to know their wages, their value, the minimum asking price, the maximum asking price. How long has it been since the report was created? And here, this category is called team. It's a category you'll find under general. It's called national team. This will indicate whether they're playing for the main team or the under 21 team. It's very important because players that have already been scouted, if they are playing for certain nations, you can get a work permit for them, provided they're currently playing for the national team. So we've got a few players here we've been scouting. Like, for example, here we have a player called Andronikos Jojo. He looks like a fairly interesting winger. Dribbling, it's all right, 12. Balance is 11 to 13. If I was really interested, I might go for him. But here I could just come in here and just carry on, right, scouting him to get more information. So these are basically been all the players that we've scouted. I have been interested in getting Samuel Shashoa, but the asking price of this player keeps going up. It's about almost 800,000. It's driving me completely bonkers. We've got other players here like Piero Mingola. He looks like a fairly interesting prospect. Balance of 9 to 11. We will continue to keep scouting him so that we can get a bit more information on him. So this is fairly involved. Now there's going to be one problem. Whenever you leave this window, this is a bit of a annoying little bug. All you have to go is just go to the scouting center, come back to scouted, and your little panel which gives you information will disappear. So I recommend that when you create the scouting window, export it straight away so that you can import it from the cloud. There's a bit of a workaround. I export it to the cloud, and then I can come back to it. Naturally, we have a shortlist. Same thing with the shortlist. I will shortlist players, and this is probably the feature that I like the most about Football Manager right now. I used to write this down on a piece of paper. I think I did a show once where I showed people my sheet of paper, and I had position players in each position. It was the only way I could keep track of players, knowing I just needed to know if I had the right players in the club. So here, this is another way of doing it, and I like this a lot. So we've got certain players with looking at, with like Niall Ennis, but he's playing for Wolves. Probably we're gonna try to talk to Wolves and ask them if we could loan him, but Wolves are not willing to allow this player to leave on loan. This is going to be a bit of a pain. Then with goalkeepers, the same thing. We're looking for a goalkeeper. We made a bid for Lee Birch. Now we come to the second part of my strategy. I have to do this before the end of the season, so I go to clubs that didn't make it into the championship, and I look at the players, and I try and find players who are unhappy, players I can afford, and I start to try and pull them over. So in certain cases, some players might have a release clause. Certain players I might have to scout a bit more. Some players may be too expensive, but I do this with quite a number of teams. I go for teams that missed the playoffs, and I also go for teams that were relegated from the championship. They may have dropped down, they may have a relegation release clause, and sometimes teams as low down the totem pole, even in League One, they might have some good players, and I'll just go from club to club, and I'll try and find players that can fit into our system, players that we need. We know that with Kingstonian, we need central defenders, we need fullbacks. So we have certain players I'm looking at to bring them into the club right now. In any lower league save with any club in the world, I will always check the work permit rules for that nation. So here in the UK, it's going to be very interesting because if you're born in England or Ireland, you have no issues. If you are not, then you have an issue. You need a work permit. The other thing I always check is the free transfer period, because I'm always looking towards these windows. This is my go-to window, and I always have players that I've been scouting who I can pull over on a free transfer. And usually the second window is the one that saves my hide when I want to get promoted or I want to do a late push. This has happened to me consistently in every single save. So I'm always paying attention, and I'm always building up a short list, a group of players that I might want to bring into the club. I'm not going to use up my entire wage budget, but what I will do is, prior to this window, 4th of February, I will get my wage budget increased one more time. So I will, and this is going to be very, very important for me, because it's the one way we can do well in the league. So we looked at the wage budget, we looked at the transfer window. Let's now get cracking on who do you bring into the club and how do you do this. Okay, you're going to be influenced by two things: your reputation as well as money. When you are a newly promoted VNS club, or maybe even in the lowest leagues, you got no money, you got no transfer budget, yes, trial. Chances are you'll be forced into tactics you never thought you'd play. But once you start moving up the leagues, that's when you start thinking about mapping a long-term strategy. The best way to do this is to have a tactic in place. Like, we have a plan to use 3 tactics next season. So based on these 3 tactics, we then go out to see whether we can strengthen our squad. So how do I do this? Well, I target clubs in the same league as I am, and I use my scouted shortlist, and I also do stats. Like, I go into stats for the season before, and I look at things like players who've had the best ratios at tackles or headers, and I zone in on these 2 players. I look for players who have the best shot on target ratios as well, and I target these players. So I'm looking out for all these kind of players, and then I will compare them to my own players. If my player is ranked 15, any one of those 14 above him is good enough to play for my team, generally. So I scout these players, and if I can, I try to put in a transfer bid. Sometimes I'm lucky they are on part-time contracts, or they may be available on a free, and then I bring them into the club. So there's a lot of statistics that I'm looking at to make them fit. Ultimately, you want them to fit into the system that you want to play. That is the ideal situation. Apart from that, always be looking at this, improving your youth facilities and your training facilities. This is where you got to have to be very careful. Financially, you could send your whole club into a tailspin. I know that the club has got a windfall of a 3.1 million coming. So that was announced, and I'm hoping that we will do okay. Uh, the other thing is, the next thing we got to worry about is finances. Now, the next thing we have to worry about is finances. You don't want to be put into a situation where the club is taking on too much. Now, we've done just enough. We haven't upgraded our training facilities, and I've managed to give. The other thing you want to do is to make sure that you have an environment where your players can be. Then the other thing that you want to do is you want to ultimately depend on your own club. Well, the other thing you want to do is develop players. We don't have a big stadium, so will probably end up selling a lot of players later. Hopefully, somebody wants our players. The rep still plays a part there, and we are also going to be upgrading our training facilities. This we have to be very careful with. We don't want to put our club into a financial tailspin. The most important thing here is facilities. We want to make sure that we have already got basic training facilities. We want to improve the youth facilities and get like basic youth facilities as well. It's at least a beginning. It's better than what we had before, which is pretty much terrible. And well, the next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are not overcommitting to training. You want to develop players in your club, yes, but you also don't want to be financially leave your. The next thing you want, the next thing, part of my long term strategy is to make sure that we can develop our own talent. Now, we are going to be affected by Brexit. So English and Irish players, that's going to be the way to go for us if we want to do well. We don't have the financial muscle yet to go after internationals. Our internationals are probably going to come from nations like Guadeloupe. I don't know, like some strange countries, maybe even Singapore. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that our training facilities are at least kept up. So we got basic training facilities there. I'm not improving them any further because financially I could put my club into a tailspin. We're already 1 million in debt this season, but that's largely due to the club's initial outlay in the transfer market. We do expect some more cash to come in very soon. Here, I also want to max out my wage budget as quickly as I can so that I can go to the club later. I want to be very close to the wage budget. I don't want to leave a buffer. So we've got our players coming in. Right now, we've got Lee Bird. She's on his way in. He's going to be signing a contract. So our transfers have already been done. We've signed this boy Matthias Kite from Estonia. Yes, we want to be looking at things like his other nationalities, English. We've got Charlie Raglan. This guy, we literally raided the Dons. Okay, we went there. We went after the two of the players from the Dons, and we just took Charlie Raglan and Kevin O'Connor, two of their defenders. One's a central defender, the other one's a wing back. We got Robbie McKenzie on a free. He's an improvement on what we have. We got Horatio Hurst. I don't know. My scouts keep telling me, my S-man says get him at all costs. So I'm like wondering what he sees in him, but he's a free transfer nevertheless. Tyler Brownsword as well, 22 years old, a defender. He's not too bad, but I'm looking at him more as the halfback in my system. Then we've got strikers like Ashley Pope coming in, Jonathan Denzel. Okay, wow, okay. Right. He's another defender that's joined the club. A bit worried about his lack of anticipation. And we also got another defender here, Tyler Maguire. So that I don't put too much pressure on Jonathan Denzel. I've got Tyler Maguire here, who's a bit more of an all rounder. Then we managed to sign this guy. I'm especially happy with this. We got a Guadeloupean. Yes. I'm also looking at a Luxembourger. Yeah, from Luxembourg, right? He's joined us. We nicked him as well from another club. So I went to Luton. I nicked a player from Luton. I went to the Dons. I nicked one. Ashley Plope. He was from Stoke. We managed to sign him for 2.9. Then Jonathan Denzel from Hearts for 10.75. Tyler Maguire from Wickham for 180k. So far, so good. Will I be signing some more players? There might be a possibility because we have a few tactics I want to use, but I won't. Okay. As far as the transfer strategy goes, once you need to think long term as well. Now I'm affected by Brexit. In older FM games, I never cared about Brexit because it wasn't even an issue. English clubs were so lucky; they could literally sign anyone in the EU. They get rich quick. But now we have a situation. We have to be careful with who we sign. So I can't really go to the marketplace and get any Spaniard, for example. Now it's only English will do. So we're going to develop our own players, basic training facilities. You got to look at keeping these improved, but you got to be very careful about how you do it. You got to watch your financial position as well. You need to be able to afford it. So there's always benchmarks that you got to hit. Like, for example, don't aim for an academy if you can't even have 5 million profit every year, something like that. So you're going to have to aim for things that you can hit. So we're going to go with the basic training facilities. We're also gone with upgrading our youth facilities. Once that is done, we will have basic stuff in the club for developing our players. Never forget that you can always go to your coaches and get them to, you get more coaches. We've gotten more coaches. So we've managed to hit all the nice numbers. They're making up for the shitty manager that I am, Ziggy Profeto. I've got a national A license now. Yeah, big deal, a big help that's going to do, but never mind. So this is the way we do our transfer strategy when I am a LLM side getting promoted to the ranks. So let's do a quick roundup of what we've done so far. Transfer history. Okay, we have players that have left the club. We released them towards the end. Ryan Cooney, Aaron Spice, Josh Mortimer, Manolis Gogonas, Michael Cox, Louis Roger, Giannis Constantino, they've all gone. Then towards the tail end of the season, I signed Lyle Taylor. He was available, so we signed him. Zach Weiner was in the last game. But start of this season, we added Matthias Kite. Not too bad. An Estonian who's got an English nationality, Charlie Raglan. This guy, we just snagged him from MK Dons. We snagged two players from MK Dons, including Jonathan Scales' replacement in Kevin O'Connor. Then we got a youngster who I think may be a half decent. I'm hoping there's a half decent halfback. Then we've got Ashley Pope, a striker from Stoke. Jonathan Denzel, what a name. Okay, but this guy is more like we want to develop him. I want to have him as cover. He's okay. He's got jumping reach. He can give Oli O'Dwyer a run for his money. Tyler Maguire, he's the all-rounder we have. He's another. I have a leadership void in my team, so I want to get more people who can be future leaders. And I'm especially proud of this guy, Dimitri Cavare. Cavare is a Guadeloupean. He's an international. He's joined us, and he's going to be our right back. So he is not too bad. It gives us options with Zach Weiner as well, so we can rotate the team. So I've got enough players in that positions now. Now the only thing I'm waiting for is I'm waiting to see whether or not how this team does in preseason. So we still haven't. Lee Burge will come in and then they'll give us 4 keepers. Our defenders, the strength, the whole defense is going to look a lot stronger this season. Up top, still something I need to fix. Now the final piece in the puzzle, preseason. Preseason is when I try shit out. I mean, I put the teams through the whole process of playing my tactics and trying them out. We did okay with Ipswich. It took a 2 goal lead and then we lost 4-2. Fine with that. But here I will put these players through. I will sign as many of these players as I can before my fourth friendly. After that, they're in the team. They get down and dirty with the rest of the boys, and we should be ready for our first game of the season at home to Birmingham. It's gonna be fantastic. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little short little guide on how I do transfers with lower league sites. If you have any questions, please look me up on Twitter at Bustthenet or addicted2fm.com, my website. Once again, I'd like to thank all my patrons for their continued support of this channel. You make these kind of shows possible for the rest of the community. You guys take care, have a good one, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.